Easy math with Miss Easley. Easy math with Miss Easley. Easy math with Miss Easley.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be multiplying rational numbers, and we've got a little help with us today. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just a mental math activity that I always like to start when I'm multiplying decimal numbers. So let me write down this one. So 1/10 times 1/10. What do you think that is? All right, so some of you are thinking, okay, 1 times 1 is 1, but where do I put my decimal? How many zeros do I need? What place value should that 1 be in? So here's what we can do. We can write that 1 down. We know 1 times 1 is 1, so that's a great start. And then we can count the places that are in our decimal area. So how many decimal places are in those two factors? You got it, 2. So I should have 2 in my product or answer. So I'm going to need a 0 to hold that other decimal place and then put my decimal point. Okay, good job. So what is the answer? 1/100th. Good job. Okay, here's the second one. Write this one down and see if you can figure out the answer. All right, so you're probably thinking 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to write that 8 down. And then how many decimal places again are in this problem, or in the two factors? You got it, 2 decimal places. So what should be in my product? 2 decimal places. So I need a 0 again to make it 2 decimal places. So let's put decimal point there, and it's 8/100ths. Okay, now try this one. This one's a little different. 1/10 times 3/100ths. What do you think the answer is on this one? Okay, let's check your work. What is 1 times 3? Okay, good. You got your 3 there. Now let's count the decimal places in the factors. This one's different. Okay, you got it. There's 3 decimal places. So then there needs to be 3 decimal places in my product. So I'm going to need to put 2 zeros in front of the 3 to give it 3 decimal places and then my decimal point. Okay, awesome. So 3/1000ths this time. All right, let's try this last one. 5/100ths times 3/10ths. So let's think about what the answer would be on that. Okay, let's check your thinking. So what is 5 times 3? Okay, got it, 15. And then how many decimal places are in these two factors? 3. So now we need another 0. We need a 0 in front of the 15 to give it 3 decimal places. So it's 15/1000ths. Okay, great job. All right, now we're going to visit my restaurant, Chico's Diner, to really get an idea of some real-world problems that have to do with multiplying rational numbers like this. Welcome to Chico's Diner. We would like to make some Chico's Diner signs to really advertise more of our new restaurant. So our first sign that we'd like to make is a little bit of a smaller sign. This one has a length of 8.5 inches and a width of 2 13/100ths inch. And we want to know the area of this sign. So let's move over to the whiteboard, and I have 2 different strategies for you that can really help you solve a problem like this, finding the area of rational numbers. Okay, so here's our dimensions. We have 8.5 inches is the length, 2 13/100ths inch is the width, and we want to know the area. So first things first, how do you find area? What does that tell you to do? Okay, awesome. Length times width. So now let's take a look at these 2 numbers. I think there's a way that we could make this a little bit easier for ourselves because we have a mixed number and a decimal number. So what do you think we should do in order to multiply these? Okay, some of you might have said it might be easiest to change this to a decimal number. Since we've been practicing with decimals, I think that's going to be our best bet. So how do I write 8.5 as a decimal? You got it. 8.5 can be the number that we work with. All right, now what I want to show you first is, and you can practice along with me, is we're going to try an area model for this problem. So the way to go about this is we just need to make different areas that represent the different place values. So our length has 2 place values, the ones and the tenths. So we're going to make this have 2 rows like that. Okay, and then my width has 1, 2, 3 place values. So I'm going to give it 3 sections here. So it looks like that. Okay, and then I can break apart the number. Since we really understand our place value, this part's going to be easy for us, because this 8 in the ones place, how much is that worth? Yeah, just 8 whole, right? How about this 5? What is that worth? Think about the place it's in. Okay, you got it. It's worth 5/10. So we write it like the value that it has in that place. Okay, so let's do that with the width. What is this 2 really worth? Yep, just 2. How about the 1? You got it, 1/10. How about this 3? Think about the place that it's in. Great, 3/100. Okay, and I like this area model strategy because it breaks it apart into mental math problems like we practiced at the beginning. And so this one, it just kind of naturally is maybe a little bit easier. So what is 8 times 2? You got it, 16. And then let's do this one. What about 8 times 1/10? Okay, you might have an answer in your head right now, but let me show you my mental math strategy that we did at the beginning just to make sure everyone's comfortable with it. So I like to just do 8 times 1 and just write that down. Okay, then I count the decimal places. I've really only got this 1. There's no decimal places in 8, so I just need it to have 1 decimal place and plop the decimal point down. So it's 8/10. Okay, let's do this next one. 8 times 3. What is 8 times 3 just by itself? Awesome, 24. And how many decimal places are in my 2 factors? Okay, 1, 2. So let's give it 1, 2. There we go. I love this mental math strategy because you can just think of the basic fact and then place your decimal. Okay, let's try this second row. 2 times 5/10. What is 2 times 5? 10. And then how many decimal places should this number have? Ooh, just 1. And this has 2 digits, so we're going to go 1 and then plop the decimal point down. So it looks like it's just 1 whole. Okay, how about 5 times 1? Got it, 5. How many decimal places should I have? Ooh, 1, 2. So 1, 2. There we go. 5/100. Okay, let's do this last one. 5 times 3. Good job, is 15. And then let's count the decimal places. 1, 2, 3. So product should have the same. 1, 2, 3. So 15 thousandths. Okay, now this looks like a lot, right? But it was really nice being able to do a lot of mental math. And now, what do you think I should do with all of these partial products? These are all different parts of the product. You got it. I should do some adding. So one thing when I have this many numbers, it's kind of overwhelming. So I like to start with the columns. So what is 16 plus 1? You got it. 17. 17 whole. Okay, then what is 8/10 plus 5/100? That looks kind of like expanded form. So I can just kind of put it together like this. No regrouping or anything because the 8's in the tenths with the 0. And the 5 is in the hundredths with also 0. Okay, and then let's look at this one. How about 24 hundredths plus 15 thousandths? And one thing, actually, I think I'm going to fix this. One thing you could do is before you start writing all of this, you could keep your lining up things in mind. So I'm going to fix it real quick because now it's a little easier to add. What is 5 plus nothing? 5, 4 plus 1, 2 plus 0. See how much easier that was when I have everything lined up? So that could be a strategy you use. Okay, now I've got 3 numbers to work with that I think are a bit easier to add. So I'm going to add those 3 up over here. So 17, and I'm going to go ahead and make it go all the way to the thousandths because I know this number does. So I might as well start doing that as I write them down. 85 hundredths is the same as 850 thousandths. And then I'll go ahead and put the last number down. Okay, why don't you pause the video and see if you can find the total product. All right, 18 and 105 thousandths. Okay, now we're going to be checking our work with the standard algorithm. Okay, so it's important to also remember from the last couple of years that you've been trying problems like this, that we just want to go ahead and multiply everything out and then find our decimal spot. Just like you've been doing the mental math problems, let's do this the same way. So that's why I lined it up strangely like this, because I want to just multiply all of these places, and the decimal point will just, in the algorithm, you just do the same thing. We're going to count them at the end and put the decimal point down. So it's kind of nice how it lines everything up for us. So let's start by doing 3 times 5. Okay, you got it, 15. You can also be using your area model to check your work over here. So that 15 represents this box right here. Okay, now we're going to do everything times the 5. So what's 1 times 5? Good, 5 plus the 1 is 6. So we're going to put that right there. Okay, then we're going to do 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, and notice how I'm not putting a decimal yet. I'm just writing it all down, and then we're going to figure that out at the end. So now I like to do something to where I mark out the number I just finished, okay, and I say XO, because that helps me to put a 0 marker right here, keep that place, and then I say no go, because I'm done with that one. I don't want to use it again. So now I do everything times the 8. So 3 times 8, what's 3 times 8? Okay, you got it, 24, and that matches this one right over here. So I'm going to put 24. Okay, and then 1 times 8 is 8, plus the 2 is 10. Regroup. 2 times 8 is 16, plus the 1 is 17. Okay, and now I'm going to add these 2 partial products up. See how this one is nice because of mental math, but this one is just condensed into, we just have 2 partial products instead of 6 partial products to deal with. So I really like the algorithm. Okay, let's add it up. 6 plus 4. Okay, now it looks the same, right? So let's make sure that it really does work with the decimal point. How many decimal places are in my problem, in my 2 factors? 1, 2, 3. So I should have 1, 2, 3, and then put your decimal. Same thing. Awesome. 18 and 105 thousandths. Great job. Then we also want to make a really large sign to advertise for Chico's Diner. Here we have our length of 2 65 yards and our width of 1 21 yards. So in this case, I just need to, once again, count my place values. So I've got 3. I'm going to make 3 rows for my area model. And then I have 3 place values in my width. So I'm going to make 3 columns. So let's dig in. We have 2. What is that 2 worth? Good, just 2. How about the 6? 6/10. Yep, you just think about what place it's in. Well, how about the 5? 5/100. Good job. Then let's do the 1. Is worth just 1 whole. 2. 2/10. And this last one is worth 100 since it's in the hundredths place. Okay, now this looks like a lot of easy mental math problems. What's 2 times 1? Good, 2. This time around, I'm going to make sure I'm lining things up right. Okay, see if you can finish out this row. 2 times 2/10, 2 times 100th. Okay, great job. Now let's try this row. So 6/10 times all of these amounts. What is 6/10 times 1? You got it. And I'm going to line it up. Okay, finish that row out. Okay, why don't you try the last row on your own? We've got a great, 9 partial products that were really easy to come up with. Now, what do I do with these? You got it. We've got to start adding them up. And just like the last one, I really like to add up the columns first, so I get 3 different numbers down here. It makes it a little easier for me. So why don't you pause the video and add up each column. All right, let's see if we got the same 3 partial products. And then what can we do with that amount? Okay, you got it. We can add those 3 numbers. That's a little more doable. I'm going to go ahead and give this number 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places so that we can line it all up. Same with this one. Okay. Why don't you pause the video again, get the total product. All right, so I'm getting 3 and 2,065 10,000ths. All right, so now let's try the standard algorithm. So as you know, you're used to doing a 3-digit number times a 2-digit number. So now that we have a 3 by 3, we're going to end up with 3 different partial products down here that we add up. Because if you think about it, we're going to do everything times the 1, all of these times the 2/10, and all of these times the 1 whole. So we're going to have 3 different lines down here to add up. So let's get started. So what is 5 times 1? You got it. At least this first round's very easy. 6 times 1? Good. 2 times 1. And good. Once again, we're not going to put our decimal point until the end. Okay, now I'm done with that one, so I can do my XO, and there's no regrouping to cross out, so I'm going to stop there. And then let's keep going. I'm going to do everything times the 2. These first 2 steps are exactly the same. 5 times 2 is 10. What about 6 times 2? Good, 12 plus the 1 is 13. And then 2 times 2? 4 plus the 1 is 5. Okay, then I can go ahead and get rid of this one. Okay, but this time instead of putting 1 0 down, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 placeholders there. Okay, and then I'm going to say no, go. I'm done with those. Now, what is 5 times 1? 5, 6 times 1? 6 and 2 times 1. 2. Okay, great job. Now I want you to add these 3 partial products. So pause the video and add those up. Okay, let's take a look. I'm seeing the same digits, so that's awesome. Let's make sure this algorithm really does work with the place value of the decimal places and where the decimal point goes. So how many decimal places do I have in my 2 factors? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, and then place the decimal. Yay, it's the same number. 3 and 2,065 10,000ths. Great job. I hope this video helps you in your math class or at home. See you next time.